Hey folks, looks like you made it just in time for a brand new marvelous anime video. Beneath the surface of Dragon Ball Z battles and Sailor Moon transformations pulsed a stranger, darker current. This was the era when creators, free from modern market algorithms and corporate filters, pushed boundaries into the surreal, the violent, and the deeply psychological. While some of these more graphic works did catch the attention of the mainstream audience, it was only natural that others, for many reasons, would never quite receive the same levels of reverence as their contemporaries. Over time, these shows became stories that faded into myths, known only to the most hardcore anime fans. In today's video, we bring to you 10 lost gems for you to add to your treasure. From cybernetic nightmares and occult tragedies to philosophical horror wrapped in neon light, these are 10 lost anime gems from the 90s that dared to go too far, and were buried for it. Let's begin. Pet Shop of Horrors, 1999. Let's kick things off with one of the more obscure animes of the late 90s, Pet Shop of Horror. Based on the eponymous manga series written and illustrated by Japanese mangaka Matsuri Akino, Pet Shop of Horrors is a 4-part anime series produced by Studio Madhouse. The story revolves around an enigmatic proprietor of a pet shop in Los Angeles' Chinatown named Count D. However, this is no ordinary pet shop, as in this shady corner of Chinatown, all manner of fantastical beasts are put up for sale, from mermaids, rabbits that multiply unnaturally fast, to humanoid pets that reflect human desires. There's something for every troubled soul that walks through the doors of this shop. Acquiring these pets, however, comes with a caveat that involves the buyer agreeing to a contract with 3 points. The primary point of the contract is that the buyer isn't allowed to show the pet to anyone else. The remaining 2 points usually change depending on the pet. Violation of these terms usually results in gruesome consequences for the owners, including death. Each episode of this series explores these consequences and is loosely tied to the others by Detective Leon Orcott, who's investigating these deaths. The detective is convinced that D is a criminal and is responsible for the deaths in his local area. He refuses to accept that there are supernatural causes to these deaths, even as evidence pointing in that direction begins to pile up increasingly. As the series progresses, these two characters form a sort of bond between them that almost resembles friendship, as Leon tries to understand the true story behind the pet shop and its owner. The series presents horror in a unique manner, making it almost elegant in nature instead of relying on jump scares. The creatures embody human vices like greed, lust, and obsession, which makes the whole thing much more cerebral in a quiet, sophisticated way. There's no clear good guy in this, as the protagonist D is steeped in moral ambiguity. Pet Shop of Horrors is a brilliant horror mystery series that was overshadowed by the flashier titles from the 90s like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun. Despite it not resonating with the mainstream crowd, it's developed a cult following over the years. If you're looking for something with the eerie morality of Twilight Zone paired with the melancholic elegance of Vampire Hunter D, then Pet Shop of Horrors might just be the thing you're looking for. Key the Metal Idol, 1994 to 97. Moving on to another hidden gem of the 90s golden era of anime and manga, we have Key the Metal Idol. This haunting masterpiece by Hiroaki Sato was probably too strange and melancholy for mainstream audiences at that time. Key the Metal Idol is a psychological sci-fi series that follows the journey of a young girl who believes herself to be a robot created by her grandfather. Tokiko Ki Mima lives in a remote area with her grandfather, Murao Mima, and every year on her birthday, she believes he builds her a new body that reflects her growth. Things really kick off when Dr. Murao, on his deathbed, tells Tokiko that if she is able to make 30,000 friends, she'll become human, and thus begins her journey. Leaving her countryside house, the naive and socially inept girl journeys to Tokyo in her quest to find her humanity. This results in her being thrust into a world full of exploitation and false affections that only value her for their own respective vested interests. In Tokyo, she meets a failed pop idol, Sakura Koreagawa, who takes her under her wing. Well, at the same time, mysterious men begin tailing her. It's soon revealed that these men are employed by a tech conglomerate called Eijo Heavy Industries. Their leader, Jinsaku Eijo, is obsessed with fusing human emotions with machines. To this end, he's been conducting inhumane experiments on subjects to create the PPOR robots, or programmed life forms, and he believes Tokiko is the final piece in his jigsaw puzzle. As Tokiko enters the entertainment industry as an idol, a world obsessed with perfection, image, and curated emotions, in a devastating irony, Ki, who presumably isn't human, becomes famous for what the masses interpret as her pure emotional authenticity. As her fame grows, the sinister web around her tightens, with Eijo closing in on her even as Sakura tries to protect her friend while asking herself whether Tokiko is truly human or just an empty shell. There's an instance in which a pop star with a failing career becomes entangled in Eijo's experiments and is turned into a soulless prototype PPOR. The atmosphere of the series becomes increasingly claustrophobic, with its blend of psychological horror and a critique of society. Ki, the metal idol, offers an interesting reflection on humanity's need to make surface-level connections to define oneself. By using Tokiko as a foil, we're forced to face our own loneliness and identity crisis in the real world. In a world that's obsessed with getting validation through social media, this show's message makes it way ahead of its time, and perhaps that's why it wasn't received well. Its slow pacing and dreamlike tone probably alienated a lot of viewers, but for those who stayed, they got to witness an unforgettable meditation on what it means to be human. If you like shows like Serial Experiment Lane or Black Mirror, then Ki, the metal idol, will probably resonate with you. Roujin Z, 1991. Roujin Z tells the story and the adventures of a young nurse, Haruko, and her ward, an invalid octogenarian widower, Kijuro Tazikawa. When the Japanese Minister of Public Welfare announces a revolutionary new technology, a robotic bed that meets all of a patient's needs, this idea becomes an instant hit with the public. The machine, however, is still a prototype. As such, a search for willing volunteers begins, and as luck would have it, Tazikawa is set to be the first to test this bed, which supposedly handles everything from home entertainment to medical needs. It's a bed powered by a nuclear reactor that, in case of a meltdown, can seal itself and its patient within a nuclear blast-resistant bunker. Things kick off, however, when Kijuro relays a cry for help to Haruko through her office computer via his connection with the advanced technology of the bed. The young nurse realizes all is not well and decides to help her patient escape, even as they get engulfed in a deeper, more sinister conspiracy when it's revealed that the bed is part of an experimental weapons program. Things only get more complicated when the machine gets imbued with the memories of Kijuro's dead wife and starts gaining sentience. This anime is a dark satire of society by acclaimed writer Katsuhiro Otomo, best known for Akira. Nursing students other than Haruko mainly consider geriatric treatment a dead-end career, and the eagerness of the populace to see the success of the machine that would rid them of their responsibilities towards the elderly is a damning reflection of our world. It explores themes of family and human warmth in a world growing increasingly self-centered. The Japanese philosophy that a soul can inhabit objects is a motif that plays a significant role in the show. Overall, it's a brilliant satire that proves you don't always need blood and gore to paint a dark and disturbing future, and this anime won't fail to entertain. Dark Side Blues, 1994. Imagine an anime that blends aspects of Blade Runner with Vampire Hunter D. Well, that's exactly what Dark Side Blues is. These similarities aren't unwarranted, as the creator of this series is none other than Hideyuki Kikuchi, the man behind Vampire Hunter D. The story takes place in a dystopian cyberpunk world ruled by a massive corporation known as Persona Century Corporation. In this world, this conglomerate rules over most of the known world, and there are only pockets of human resistance against their control. One of these places is a small section of Tokyo called Kabuki-cho, earning it the nickname the Dark Side of Tokyo. The area has become a refuge for the poor, the lost, and the defiant, those who refuse to bow to Persona. The resistance there is small but passionate, made up of rebels who live on the edge of survival. Among them are Mai, Maya, and Tatsuya, three characters bonded by a past shaped by Persona as they work tirelessly to protect their humanity and their home amid the despair around them. One night, a mysterious man arrives in Kabuki-cho and names himself Darkside after the locality's name. He's impeccably dressed, calm, and has an unearthly air around him, seemingly untouched by the corruption of the world around him. This man takes up residence in the Hotel Arkham, a strange, timeless building that seems to exist slightly out of phase with reality. He arrives speaking of providing succor to the rebels in their quest against the evil corporation Persona that plagues them. Soon, they learn that this visitor is no ordinary person, as darkness begins to possess supernatural powers that can bend reality itself. What makes him even more enigmatic is that he speaks of things like fate, sin, and redemption in a cryptic way. As the evil corporation escalates its its cruelty to end all resistance, all that stands between the dark side of Tokyo and subjugation is their mysterious savior, darkness. The mood of the anime is dreamlike and kind of slow, as the series emphasizes mystery and ambiguity rather than giving us a much more straightforward story. If you want an esoteric anime that blends sci-fi, horror, and dark fantasy, then Dark Side Blues is the one for you. Angel Cop, 1989. While the title of this series might fool some into believing it's some sort of shoujo manga, nothing could be further from the truth. Angel Cop is an OVA comprised of 6 episodes directed by Ichiro Itano, based on the manga by Taku Kitazawa. The story is set toward the end of the 20th century when a radical communist group called the Red May is hell-bent on bringing down the Japanese economy, the world's leading financial power. They intend to topple the economy and take over the government in order to establish a communist regime. In order to combat this threat, the government deploys a special, highly trained security force to take down these terrorists. Our title character, Angel Mikawa, is a ruthless member of this task force who follows her orders with no questions asked. For Angel, death is a part of her job, and she feels no remorse for all the lives she's taken until one day she's forced to kill her own partner. The Red May soon realizes that a far more deadly adversary is hunting them than the Special Security Force. As the members of the terrorist group begin to get eliminated at a rapid pace by a mysterious group, a far more sinister and insidious plot is revealed. One that's much larger than toppling the world's most powerful economy. Angel must fight these shadowy adversaries and uncover the mastermind behind all the chaos. Angel Cop is a very high-intensity, over-the-top anime with lots of gore and blood-filled action. People explode into pools of blood with mere gunshot wounds and die in ways that completely defy logic and physics. It's definitely geared towards a more mature audience, as the series deals with graphic violence, which isn't for the faint of heart. If you've already read the manga, you can still catch the OVAs, as there are some key differences in the plot of the anime. The series was embroiled in controversy as it was accused of showcasing anti-Semitic plot points. In the original Japanese language version, it's revealed that the people who were trying to sabotage Japan and turn it into a dumping ground for radioactive materials were Jews. A group of powerful Jewish oligarchs is shown bankrolling Japan's downfall in order to annex it as the 55th state of America. Upon being launched in America, Manga Entertainment removed all traces of this controversial plotline in both the dubbed and subtitled versions. Instead, they replaced the Jews with an American-owned corporation. While the anti-Semitic plotline was rightfully removed, this wasn't the only problem the series faced abroad. To call its English dub atrocious would be an understatement. The dub was so bad that it was considered almost a parody of the original material, leading to many either finding it tolerable or downright horrendous. The series is edgy, violent, borderline nihilistic, and teeming with profanity for all the wrong reasons. But what makes it acceptable is the absolutely ridiculous and over-the-top manner in which the series is presented. Angel Cop is definitely not for everyone, like most of the OVAs on this list, but it's definitely worth a watch if you're interested. Biohunter, 1995. Based on the eponymous manga series written by Fujihiko Hosono, Biohunter is an action, mystery, and psychological horror film. The story is set in a grim version of Tokyo where the city is gripped by fear of a strange and terrifying new virus. This is no ordinary virus like the ones you and I are familiar with, as those who contract this deadly plague begin to exhibit violent and animalistic tendencies. They begin attacking and devouring others before transforming into grotesque monsters. The disease seems to have both biological and supernatural origins, which baffles doctors and earns it the nickname Demon Virus. Enter Komada and Koshiyagi, two respected molecular biologists who are secretly investigating the disease. While on the surface they seem like ordinary researchers, the two are exceptionally radical in their approach. Komada, in particular, has gone so far as to infect himself with the virus, but somehow remains in control out of sheer willpower. He uses the virus's power to hunt down other infected humans to contain the outbreak and better study the pathogen. While others have succumbed and transformed, he remains relentlessly in control, earning himself the nickname Biohunter. On the other hand, his partner Koshiyagi is far more pragmatic and cautious. Although he cares for and aids Komada, he worries about the ethical lines his partner sometimes crosses and fears that the virus might eventually take over his friend. Biohunter does a stellar job of avoiding the trap of confining the series to a monster hunter type of story. The virus's reach begins to extend into political and criminal circles, granting it another dimension. For instance, a powerful politician is infected but hides his symptoms using his influence to bury reports and silence anyone investigating the source of his malady. The infection seems to prey on whatever the person's vice is. greed, lust, or anger, using it to accelerate the transformation. Those who are morally bankrupt succumb to it more quickly, as if the virus feeds on the darkness within their hearts. As the film's story progresses, the lines between science and occultism become increasingly blurred. We would like to believe that, in the end, Biohunter isn't just a gory horror story, but a metaphor for the decay and repression of society. The series is a perfect balance of philosophy and action, dealing with both internal and external monsters that humans harbor. The story is short, sharp, and self-contained, making it a perfect slice of 90s mature anime. The script is written by none other than Yoshiaki Kawajiri, the man behind films like Ninja Scroll and Wicked City. The reason it was mostly overlooked is probably because it didn't have the same level of marketing as its contemporaries. If you enjoy works by Kawajiri and are looking for more, this anime is guaranteed to satiate your need. Just be warned, it's not for the faint of heart, or children for that matter. Blackmagic M66, 1987. We all know Ghost in the Shell and Appleseed, but have you heard of Blackmagic M66? It comes from the genius mind of Masamune Shirao as well. It's one of his early works where you can already see his fascination with futuristic tech, androids, and the cyberpunk setting. The OVA kicks off with a highly secret government helicopter crash landing after an accident. We soon find out that the cargo of this destroyed chopper was two lethal state-of-the-art androids designed by a Dr. Matthews. Unfortunately for him, these androids had been pre-programmed for a training mission to assassinate a target who happened to be his granddaughter Ferris by his assistant. Due to the crash, the android's system had malfunctioned, and now what was supposed to be a training mission becomes a deadly hunt. Caught in this web of secrets is a fierce reporter named Sybil who will go to any lengths to get a good scoop. However, just as she begins to discover more about these androids, it becomes clear to her that the government's priority lies in recovering their rough assets and not in saving civilian lives, as it would give away this top-secret project. Now, the only thing standing between Ferris and the androids is her, as she rushes against time to save the innocent girl. What ensues is a high-intensity cat-and-mouse chase through city streets and industrial zones. The odds are stacked against Sybil and Ferris, as the military wants to cover up the incident and the bureaucracy delays their hopes with red tape. Imagine the Terminator, but there are two T-1000s instead of one, who will likely stop at nothing until Ferris is dead. The movie beautifully juxtaposes the cold, machine-like approach of both the androids and the army, with Sybil's very human empathy towards someone she barely even knows. This is one of Shirao's very early works, and it's a fascinating precursor to what would come next. So, if you're a fan of franchises like The Terminator and Ghost in the Shell, then you can't go wrong with this one. Blue Seed, 1994 to 95, TV plus OVA. Based on the manga written by Yuzi Takada, Blue Seed is a series that ran for 12 episodes and even received an OVA adaptation. In this modern-day supernatural thriller, we witness ancient Japanese mythology come to life as our protagonist is drawn into it. Thousands of years ago, Japan was infested by supernatural creatures called the Aragami, who fed on human life for sustenance. It was only with the power of a divine priestess called the Kushinada that they were held at bay. Fast forward to Tokyo in 1992, and the Aragami are beginning to awaken once more to wreak havoc upon humanity. Strange, deadly incidents begin occurring across Japan. Earthquakes, spontaneous plant growths, and attacks by monstrous hybrid creatures. These are the work of the Aragami, reawakening and seeking the Kushinada's blood to fully restore their power and cleanse the earth of humanity's pollution and greed. Enter Momiji Fujimiya, a cheerful schoolgirl living with her mother and grandmother in Izumo. One day, as she's returning home, she's attacked by an Aragami who refers to her as Kushinada. She's saved by a mysterious man named Mamoru Kusanagi, who possesses 7 blue seeds embedded in his body. The blue seeds grant him superhuman agility and regenerative power, but they also mark him as part Aragami. Kusanagi was once an enemy of humanity, but now, bound to Momiji's destiny, he becomes her reluctant protector. She's soon confronted by government officials from a department called the Territorial Administrative Center, or TAC for short, which is responsible for dealing with these types of supernatural and otherworldly threats. Momiji also learns about the history of Kushinada and the Aragami Post, and she's informed that she is the reincarnation of the divine priestess. The plot grows increasingly complex as new and powerful foes enter the scene, revealing the truth about humanity's relationship with the Aragami. Where it gets decidedly more serious is in the aftermath of the series, which shows us that despite the threat being dealt with, it comes at a cost. It's not quite as psychologically twisted as Lane or Perfect Blue, but it's definitely one of those lost gems that mixed ancient mythology, weird bio-horror, and emotional drama in a way only 90s anime could pull off. we can guarantee you won't be disappointed with this one. The Soul Taker, 2001. Continuing with another anime with heavy supernatural themes, let's now talk about a little-known gem from the early 2000s called The Soul Taker. Judging from its name, you must have already guessed that it's hardly a kid's show. Soul Taker is a psychological and supernatural horror with mystery elements. It has one of the most shocking starts in all of anime, where the main character is killed by his very own doting mother in the first episode. Kyosuke Tokisaka Date is your average young boy, kind-hearted, generous, and selfless. He lives a seemingly ordinary life with his family, going about his days like other kids his age. However, his life is shattered when his mother murders him by impaling him through the heart. Strangely, he's brought back to life under mysterious circumstances, but Kyosuke is no longer the same boy he was before he died. He quickly learns that he has the ability to transform himself into a powerful mutant with dangerous abilities called the Soul Taker. He also finds out that he has a twin sister called Ruma, whose soul has been fragmented and scattered across several women as part of a twisted experiment. As Kyosuke hunts these women down to save his sister, he's pursued by a shadowy organization, other mutants, and religious cults, all of whom want to use him to take his power for their own. As his world collapses around him and he's forced to reckon with the twisted truth about his real nature, we're treated to one of the most violent body horror series of all time. The world of the Soul Taker reveals itself as a crumbling modern dystopia, a place ruled by corporate cults and obsessed with creating godlike humans. The series deals with complex themes of motherhood, sin, and identity crisis, utilizing heavy religious allegory and science. Due to its aesthetics, Soul Eater is often mistaken for a much older anime. If you enjoy complex characters, superpowers, and convoluted plots, then Soul Eater will definitely do the trick. Crying Freeman, 1988. Crying Freeman is a 6-part OVA series released by Toei from 1988 to 94, which is based on the eponymous manga series written by Kazuo Koike and illustrated by Ryoichi Ikigami. It follows the story of a Japanese potter, Yo Hinmura, and his descent into darkness after becoming involved with a vicious Chinese triad gang that rose to power in the 70s. During one of his exhibitions in America, Hinmura discovers that the 108 dragons had hidden some secret pictures within one of his pots. Upon being confronted by the villains and asked to surrender the pictures, Hinmura refuses, making himself a target for the gang. Due to certain factors, the dragons conclude that Hinmura is the perfect future leader of their gang, which doesn't follow the laws of blood inheritance. To kill 2 birds with a single stone, the gang kidnaps Hinmura and places him under hypnosis, wiping his mind and training him as the greatest assassin in their group. He becomes feared as Long Tai Yang, a name given to him for his training that has transformed him into the most deadly man on the planet. However, now and then, Long's trance breaks and he momentarily turns back into being Hinmura the Potter, during which he cries in anguish for his actions and the lives of his victims, earning him the nickname Crying Freeman. As the hypnosis takes a deeper hold later in the series, it's suspected that he seems to cry after each kill as a subconscious response. The series is packed with explosive action, featuring graphic violence and high-octane martial arts. There's also a healthy amount of nudity and sexually explicit material in the anime, making it quite unsuitable for a younger audience. It's a complex story that explores the struggles of Hinmura and his violent ways, along with his love for a woman called Imo Hino, who witnesses one of his murders. The anime explores profound themes of loneliness and innocence lost, adding depth to the story. Crying Freeman is erotic and brutal, delivering a compelling tale of a quiet but emotionally complex killer. Marvelous Verdict. Every era of anime and manga has its own hidden gems. Therefore, it's not surprising that the 80s and 90s, the golden era of the industry, would have several anime that, for whatever reason, just didn't reach the heights of some of their contemporaries. The anime on our list today aren't mere products of entertainment, but reflections of the rapidly modernizing Japan at the time and its population, which was dealing with issues like digitization, alienation, and anxiety. So when you dig into these forgotten relics, you're not just witnessing the fractured consciousness of Soul Taker, the occult despair of Darkside Blues, the biohorror tragedy of Biohunter, or the nihilistic tragedy of Key the Metal Idol. What you're seeing is a reflection of the collective consciousness of creators who chose to use their works to immortalize the issues they lived through. Due to this, some of these works might have been too intense or esoteric to be successful in traditional terms. Thankfully, even if we lack the gift of foresight, we do possess the gift of hindsight. Looking back, these are absolute treasures whose narratives go beyond the story they're telling. It's our sincere hope that you'll at least pick up one of these shows and give it a go. For now, though, we've come to the end of our video. Thanks for sticking with us right to the very end. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to check out the rest of our channel. We post daily videos featuring all of your favorite anime and manga. We hope to see you soon in the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay marvelous.